Right, so Robert Jenrick just went nuclear on his former mates, and honestly, the popcorn practically made itself. We're talking leaked texts, accusations of lying flying around like confetti at a particularly bitter wedding, and the phrase special place in hell being thrown about like it's just another Tuesday in Westminster. Which, let's be honest, it probably is. Welcome back to UK Political Insight, where we wade through the absolute carnage of British politics so you don't have to. Today's episode? Well, it's got more drama than a season finale of your favorite reality show, except these people actually make decisions that affect your life. Terrifying, isn't it? So let's set the scene. Robert Jenrick, former Tory darling, immigration hardliner, and the man who came second in the Conservative leadership race that felt like it lasted approximately 7 centuries, has just done what you might call a political grenade toss. After getting the boot from the Conservative Party and promptly defecting to Reform UK faster than you can say political opportunism, Jenrick decided he wasn't going quietly into that good night. Oh no, he went on GB News, made some claims about being called out by Tory whips for daring to suggest we spend foreign aid money on defense instead, and specifically named the current chief whip, Rebecca Harris, as someone who'd basically told him he'd earned himself a one-way ticket to the afterlife's basement. You know, standard Westminster pleasantries. Now, Kemi Badenoch, the woman who beat Jenrick in that leadership contest, and is currently trying to hold together a Conservative party that's hemorrhaging MPs to reform like a sieve holds water, wasn't having any of it. She went on the People's Channel and essentially called Jenrick a liar. Not in a polite, parliamentary, the honorable member is mistaken kind of way, but properly just said he's lying. Bold move. Direct. I almost respect it. She accused him of dishonesty, of betraying colleagues' confidences, and basically painted him as the political equivalent of that person who screenshots your private messages and posts them in the group chat. Which, plot twist, is exactly what he then did. Because Robert Jenrick, bless his chaotic energy, decided the best response to being called a liar was to absolutely prove he wasn't lying by leaking the actual text messages. And let me tell you, they are spicy. We're talking messages allegedly from Rebecca Harris herself, calling Jenrick a bloodsucker, telling him he should announce he's standing down, and yes, confirming that delightful special place in hell comment. One message literally reads, "You have a special place in hell." I mean, if we're going to assign eternal damnation via text message, at least she's got flair. Jenrick posted these receipts with the caption, "They still won't tell the truth," which is the political equivalent of dropping the mic, except the mic is explosive and the stage is on fire and everyone's screaming. Now here's where it gets properly interesting, because the substance of what started this whole mess actually matters. Jenrick's crime, according to these texts, was writing an article suggesting the UK should redirect some of its foreign aid budget toward defense spending. You know, given the whole situation with Russia being a bit murdery in Ukraine, China eyeing up Taiwan like it's the last chocolate in the box, and Britain's military being stretched thinner than the plot of a Michael Bay film. Jenrick that maybe, just maybe, we should prioritize making sure our armed forces can actually, defend things. Radical stuff, clearly. The cheap whip apparently thought this was beyond the pale, completely out of order, worthy of hellfire and damnation. Except, and this is the absolutely delicious bit of hypocrisy Jenrick's highlighting, the Conservative Party now officially supports exactly that policy. Kemi Badenoch herself has given speeches about redirecting aid money to defense. It's literally their current position. So either Rebecca Harris had the world's fastest and most complete political conversion, or, and stay with me here, the issue wasn't actually the policy at all. It was Jenrick breaking ranks, speaking out of turn, not following the party line at the exact moment the leadership wanted everyone singing from the same hymn sheet. This is Westminster's dirty little secret laid bare. It's not about what you believe, it's about when you say it and whether you've got permission. You can hold whatever position you like as long as you wait until it's officially sanctioned, branded, and media trained into oblivion. Jenrick's sin wasn't being wrong, it was being early, or honest, or independently minded. Pick your poison. Badenoch's response to all this has been to double down on the character assassination. She's painting Jenrick as fundamentally dishonest, a serial betrayer of confidences, someone who can't be trusted. She asked why he doesn't just talk about what he wants to offer rather than slagging off the party he left, which is rich considering the Conservative Party has spent the last several years in an almost constant state of internal warfare, with various factions briefing against each other, leaking like a rusty bucket, and generally conducting their disagreements through carefully placed media hit pieces. But sure, Jenrick's the problem now that he's left. The truth is, Badenoch's got bigger problems than one angry ex-colleague with a smartphone full of incriminating texts. She's facing a proper exodus. Jenrick's defection to Reform UK wasn't a one-off embarrassment. It's part of a pattern. Andrew Rosendale, the Romford MP, also jumped ship to Reform, making them their 7th MP. Nigel Farage is strutting around like a cat that got the cream, having welcomed over 20 ex-Tory MPs into Reform's ranks, and he's openly predicting more defections before the May elections. That's not a trickle, that's a flood. Badenoch tried to rally the troops at an emergency 1922 committee, the sort of gathering that only happens when things are going spectacularly well or catastrophically bad. And I'll give you one guess which this was. She told Tory MPs that while Reform is negative about Britain, the Conservatives will be fueled by positivity. It's a nice line, very focus grouped, very we go high when they go low. The problem is it's quite hard to project positivity when your party is visibly falling apart in real time, when former leadership contenders are defecting and immediately airing all your dirty laundry on national television. Let's talk about what this defection wave actually means, because it's not just about personalities or wounded egos, though there's plenty of both. The Conservative Party is facing an existential crisis. After 14 years in power, followed by a historic election defeat, they're trying to work out what they actually stand for. The problem is, different bits of the party have very different answers to that question. You've got the traditional one-nation Tories, the economic liberals, the social conservatives, the immigration hardliners, and they're all pulling in different directions. Meanwhile, Reform UK has positioned itself as the true home of small c conservatism, tough on immigration, skeptical of net zero, Eurosceptic, all the culture war hits. For Tory MPs who think the party's gone too soft or too managerial or too focused on electability rather than principles, Reform is looking increasingly attractive. Jenrick's defection is particularly damaging because he wasn't some backbench nobody. This was a former cabinet minister, a leadership candidate who came second, someone with a proper profile and following within the party. When someone like that leaves, it sends a signal. It tells other MPs who might be wavering that it's acceptable, that there's a future outside the Conservative Party. Farage knows this, which is why he's been so welcoming, so eager to paint every defector as a principled stand rather than rats fleeing a sinking ship. During that GB News interview, Jenrick even extended what looked like an olive branch to Suella Braverman, the former Home Secretary who's been making increasingly loud noises about the Conservative Party's direction. He was basically saying, "Come on over, the water's fine," without quite saying it explicitly. Braverman's got her own devoted following in Tory members and MPs, and if she were to defect, that would be cataclysmic for Badenoch. We're not there yet, but the fact that people are even speculating about it tells you how precarious things are. The leaked texts add a whole other dimension to this mess, because they reveal the contempt some within the conservative establishment had for people pushing certain positions. Being called a bloodsucker, being told there's a special place in hell for you, being pressured to announce you're standing down, all for suggesting a policy that's now official party position. That's not just political disagreement, that's personal animosity. It's the kind of toxic internal culture that makes people think, why am I even bothering with this lot? Jenrick clearly positioned these leaks as proof that the conservative leadership can't be trusted, that they say one thing publicly while privately operating completely differently. His caption, "They still won't tell the truth," is designed to paint him as the honest truth-teller and them as hypocrites. Whether you buy that depends largely on whether Jenrick is motivated by principle or personal vengeance. Probably it's a bit of both, if we're being honest. Politics doesn't tend to attract people who are purely one thing or another. What's absolutely clear is that this is a disaster for the Conservative Party discipline. The Chief Whip's job is literally to maintain order, to keep MPs in line, to enforce the party's positions. When the Chief Whip's own text messages are being leaked showing her calling colleagues bloodsuckers, that authority is completely undermined. How do you enforce discipline when you're the subject of the leak? How do you command respect when your private contempt for colleagues is splashed across social media? Rebecca Harris's position must be incredibly uncomfortable right now, though the party will likely close ranks around her because admitting weakness would make things even worse. Badenoch's stuck between a rock and a hard place. She can't be seen to be soft on defectors because that might encourage more, but she also can't spend all her time fighting yesterday's battles and responding to people who've already left. She needs to be making a positive case for the Conservative Party, showing voters why they should give the party another chance after the electoral hammering they took, except she keeps getting dragged into these public spats, these he said, she said arguments that make the whole party look dysfunctional and petty. The timing couldn't be worse. Either with local elections looming and Reform UK riding high in certain polls, every defection, every scandal, every leaked text message makes it harder for the Conservatives to present themselves as a credible alternative government. Voters don't tend to reward parties that look like they're tearing themselves apart. They want competence, unity, at least the appearance of having things together. Right now, the Tories look like they've got nothing together, except perhaps a shared talent for spectacular self-destruction. What makes this whole situation even more absurd is that the policy disagreement that sparked it isn't even really a disagreement anymore. Everyone's supposedly on the same page about defense spending versus foreign aid now, but the wounds are still raw, the texts are still leaked, the accusations are still flying. It's almost post-policy politics, where the substance matters less than the personalities, the grudges, the narrative of betrayal and loyalty. Jenrick's clearly positioned these leaks as proof